Next up, we have the superintendent's report. Superintendent Dixon. Unless you cede the time, you are up next. And following that, we have the Utah High School Activities Association annual report presentation. Would you mind? Okay. If we could have our guests thank you, USDB. Thank you. And we apologize again for the delay. We will get better. We will. And I believe we have some representatives, Robert Cuff and Brennan Jackson, and maybe some others. Yeah, I'm going to find out. Okay. All right, and if you will introduce yourselves prior to speaking, and we welcome you.
Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
Rob Cuff, Executive Director, Utah High School Activities Association.
And I'm Brennan Jackson. I'm Assistant Director of the High School Activities Association.
Thank you for inviting us here today to present our report. Thank you, Superintendent Dixon, for letting us go ahead of you. Appreciate that. I want to start by saying a thank you to Board Member Straight for his service and commitment to our Board of Trustees since 2021. And we're going to miss him, and we appreciate him dearly, and for all of the information that he has brought and wisdom he has brought from this board to our board. And thank you, Brent. Appreciate you. I also wanted to thank Superintendent Dixon for this lady, Terry Davis, who you know, because she serves on our executive committee. And it's thanks to Superintendent Dixon for allowing her to join us for our meetings. And so we feel like we have a connection with this board, and we appreciate that, and we want that to continue. The Utah High School Activities Association has 159 member schools, 123 district schools, 21 charter schools, and 15 private schools across its membership. There are over 100,000 athletes and students who participate in high school activity programs across the state, including sports, music, theater and drama, speech and debate. The association also partners with Special Olympics Utah to provide participation for unified sports in our high schools, our member high schools. The UHSAA is governed by a 15-member Board of Trustees made up of 6 elected local school board members, 3 district superintendents, 3 district principals, a charter school representative, a private school representative, and a state board of education representative. The organization is committed to stressing educational and cultural values, improving the participation experience in activities, promoting life skills and lessons involved in competitive activities, fostering sportsmanship and mutual respect, and assisting those who oversee high school sports and activities programs in our UHSA member high schools. About 6 weeks ago, I think, Sybil, if I'm right, we submitted to you a written report in 4 different areas: the association's annual audit, the association's annual budget, the schedule of UHSA events for the 2024-2025 school year, and any changes to the association's bylaws since our last report in 2023. This is in state statute to do this on an annual basis. First, you have received the 2023-2024 audit that was approved by the UHSAA Board of Trustees in a meeting held on August 22nd of this year. Second, you have received a copy of the 2024-2025 budget that was approved by the UHSAA Board of Trustees in the same meeting on August 22nd. The budget is divided into 4 categories, 2 categories of revenue and 2 categories of expenses. The UHSAA currently has an annual budget of nearly $4.5 million. You'll notice on the audit and the budget that we receive no legislative money. Everything that is generated by revenue comes from basically 3 sources. Our activities revenue, which is basically postseason and state championship events. The events during regular season goes directly to the schools. And second, the other revenue comes from corporate sponsors. We have several corporate sponsors that help us to maintain our budget. And then third, a very small percentage of fees and dues that are paid to the association by our member schools. I'd like to stop here to see if there are any questions regarding either the audit or the budget.
Member Carey?
And we're happy to take questions at the end as well, if that's going to be easier for everyone.
Okay, would you like a question now about enrollment or later?
Now's fine.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm just looking at and this just caught my eye when I was looking at it, and it's more curiosity than anything else, but on your enrollment comparisons, projections versus actuals, on that report, and I think it's the second page, you had projected a loss of district school students in the amount of 3,369.
Are you, so are you in the audit or are you on the budget?
I am in your enrollment document. Enrollment comparisons, projections versus actuals.
I don't think that's ours.
That's a loss of enrollment for the state, I believe. Isn't that?
No, this is
No?
That's in the monthly budget report. Yeah.
Right.
That's the item down there.
yeah for the high school. Oh,
I'm
you
lost.
can't answer that question. Okay,
I can make something up, but I don't even dare do that.
it would have worked. Okay, I apologize to you and the board for that. Sorry. Thank you, Chair.
Member Lear?
I wondered who did your audit.
Okay, our audit, it's printed there in
And
the
I'm
attachment,
just
but
not
it's,
as fast as
it's Haney and Company.
Okay.
And
So
they're actually certified public accountants and management consultants out of San Antonio. However, we did have a local company doing it for several years, and we just went to this company about 3 or 4 years ago because we had a connection with Superintendent Rick Nielsen out of the Nebo School District. And so they've had some experience, either he personally or the district, with Haney and Company.
And I was more just asking, it was an independent audit.
Yes, it was.
And because I didn't get to read it, I was kind of tied up with other stuff, sorry.
Thanks, Carol.
You can continue.
I'm going to have Brennan continue. Thank you.
Okay. You also received a schedule of events for the entire school year, and if you've taken time to go over it and review it, you'll see that there's a lot of dates and a lot of times, a lot of extracurricular activities for our kids, and you're welcome to attend any of those that you would like to go to, especially in our state championship venues. If you let us know ahead of time, we'll make sure that you can get in there and watch and support the teams that are going to be competing for state championships. The UHSAA also sanctions 22 sports and 3 activities of music, theater, and drama, and speech and debate, as Executive Director Cuff mentioned. The UHSAA provides nearly 150 state championships and tournaments throughout the school year. One of the things that the association, I come from a background of as an educator and a coach, and became a principal of a couple of different high schools, an assistant superintendent, and I've worked with school boards and have a lot of background. Sid and I go way back as when we worked on different committees. But one of the things that I've always been appreciative with the association is that they've always tried to give kids the greatest opportunities, and that's why if you look at some of our expenditures, we always try to get college or professional venues for our kids to play in throughout the state. So whether it's America First Field for boys and girls soccer, to the University of Utah, BYU, Weber State, we try to get these organizations to work with us, and it is taxing to try to work around some of their schedules to try to give our students the best opportunities possible. Questions that you have on the state tournaments or venues, programs that we offer?
Go ahead.
I might just give a thanks for that effort, because it's a big deal when these kids get to play in those venues. They remember that for life. So I appreciate the effort that goes into that. Thank you.
Thank you. One thing in my money-saving mind, must be the principal coming out in me, but I wondered why we were spending so much money on America First Field, which is the old Rio Tinto RSL there on 90th South. And, because we could play in a smaller venue, we could do some other things to save money. And when the kids came off the bus and they walked down to the field, I was standing there, and they started to cry. And I said, I don't need to know anything else. So I appreciate that, but that's what the kids taught me, is how important it was to be there, and it was worth whatever we were going to spend to get them that opportunity. So thank you. Any questions about the schedule of events starting tomorrow, and then Saturday we have our small schools football out to the Zions Bank Stadium, which is the kind of another facility of our RSL relationship. It's an actual soccer venue that has been set up for football. It seats over 5,000 people, and it's really great for our small schools to have that opportunity for semifinals. Then the finals are down at Southern Utah University. So if you have a desire to come watch, let Rob or I know, and we'll meet you at the gate and get you in. Any questions of the scheduled events? Okay. You also received in your packet the handbook items that have been approved by the Board of Trustees since our 2023 report. Are there any questions on any of the handbook items that you might have?
Member Straight?
Yes, I'd like to make a statement rather than put a question. I'd just like to encourage everyone to read the handbook. It's not very long, Carol. Plus, you're an attorney. My heavens. So,
This is good reading.
are you? See, look at that. But often, I've had people call me asking questions, and this will help you, inform you on the information regarding that, because a lot of times people just don't know. So pay attention to that and share with others. You can answer the questions that they have. Thank you.
Kara, start on page 4, the transfer rule.
Thank you, Board Member Straight. And let me just add also, our website is uhsaa.org, and we feel like we have a pretty good website compared to other state associations across the country. There are 51 state associations, including Washington, D.C., and if there's any ideas from you on how we can improve and make that more friendly, please let us know. But you should be able to navigate yourself well in that website. If not, then please let us know.
Okay, board members, do you have any other questions or? Okay.
One thing I would
Please.
like to add in closing is that the NFHS, which is our father corporation or parent corporation organization called the NFHS, And one of the things that they have done is they've come up with a lot of different safety courses, training courses, instructional videos that not only our coaches but parents and players can go on to watch videos. Some of the schools are using they're all using the concussion protocol that has been in our one of our state mandates, legislative mandates, and they're using the concussion protocol training for that. Also, by in our cooperation with this body, we've also incorporated the coaches certification that we have been working on. I just want to give you a quick update on that. When we first initially started it, everybody thought they were a certified coach. And then when the standards came out and we started calling and following up, the schools were realizing, oh, wait, they don't have everything they're supposed to have. And so it has morphed into a really productive thing where all of the coaches that come to our state venues and throughout the season are certified coaches, and we provide them with a credential so that they have to wear at the state venues and throughout some of the other region games. They wear those credentials that lets every parent, everybody know that they are they've met the requirements to be a certified coach under our board rules. So if you would like to, in your spare time, if you wanted to go to nfhs.learn or nfhslearn.com, you can access, even yourself could access some of these videos and workshops, and they break it down by sport, by activity, and sports medicine things, how to avoid injuries, what to do in cases of emergency, some really neat things. So that's nfhslearn.com that you can take a look at what our parent company is providing and what we are using to help people get certified as coaches.
Okay, any questions? I do have a question. School fees are an issue in Utah for the legislature and for parents. What kinds of things, if anything, is your organization doing to help minimize the cost to families to participate in activities that are sponsored or supported by your organization?
You want me to? Well, go ahead.
I can start with that, and then if you want to follow up. So we work very closely with our districts and superintendents and principals, and are very aware of the expenses. Most of the expenses that students do on pay to play would be involving officials and transportation. And so, as you know, we have 6 classifications in Utah, and in order to make a level playing field, sometimes there's a great deal of travel for some of our mainly smaller schools. And so when we do a realignment of member schools, which is now every 2 years, it used to be every 4 years, that's one of the biggest concerns of our board is when we place these schools in regions, the travel, the time out of school. Sometimes there's just no way around it. For example, San Juan, Grand, Vernal, Wendover, they have to have a schedule too. And so what we say to those type of regions who have, I'm not going to say have to, but get to play those schools, that they do their non-region games closer to home so that it actually offsets during the course of a season. So that even though the region may require more travel, the non-region games then could compensate for the region travel if you play closer to home. And so some schools do a really good job of that. Obviously, every local board of education deals with the fee schedule. We do not have any part of that, but indirectly we do with the cost of officials and the cost of travel. Did you want to add anything to that?
And another thing that the board might find interesting is that we also have a catastrophic insurance policy. And the schools initially pay for that, and then we actually refund it 100% because of we do something innovative in our state. We have what's called an endowment football game where schools that want to participate can do an endowment game, and those proceeds go into a foundation, and then our boards actually will reimburse the schools money for the catastrophic insurance. And so that's another way. Then the local boards can decide at the local level what their fee schedules are going to be and what's required for their school for kids to play.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just kind of in the vein of transportation, we get a lot in the law and licensing committee. We get a lot of 4-day waiver requests for a 4-day week, and most of the time, I could be wrong, but athletics is a main part of that. And I recognize that that's a kind of a local thing, but has the UHSAA, whether in the past or maybe this is something to think about in the future, I'd love to see what we can do to keep kids in schools to where athletics is not a reason to cut out a school day, right? If they have other reasons, I'm happy to support them, but with the UHSAA working with the USBE for so long, like I said, every time it comes through, especially a high school, athletics is mentioned. So has there been conversations around that, or is that, I mean, I know you guys do your best already. It's a local issue, but are there steps that you're taking to help with this concern?
Well, one thing that I'll share, and then Rob can voice his opinion. When I started my teaching career in a little town called Milford, Utah, a long time ago, they were given permission to go on a 4-day week. And Fridays were used for, like, student makeup. Teachers were there. Fridays were used as makeup. And that's when the games were on Fridays and Saturdays. Well, there have been other schools that have talked about going to a 4-day week and at the local level, and they just have chosen not to. With the number of sporting and extracurricular events, not only just sports, but the music, speech and debate, and drama, there's so many events going on. It's a little more difficult for us to gauge how individual districts would handle that, but we have done some things where teams will play all on one day. A basketball team will go. Football teams will go and play instead of going one day and then another to keep kids in school, so it's only one time. And some of that has been driven by lack of officials, but so we've been doing some same day, same sites for multiple events.
I had an additional question. Okay, please, you go first.
Well, mine's just a shameless compliment. But I've worked with the UHSAA for probably 2 or 3 decades, both when I was working in this office and then as a private attorney, and I consider them friends as well as colleagues. But I have to say, I think they've done, the whole organization has been really, for a bureaucracy, has been very flexible. When charter schools started up, there was a year or two of sort of, what does this mean for us? But then they readily figured out a way to integrate charter schools. And then when private schools wanted to be involved, they figured out a way to integrate private schools. And I think sometimes the UHSAA is criticized for its old boy network and its inflexibility, but I've seen just the opposite. They've really been open to making changes and improving situations. And I think some of that comes because you guys are educators, and a lot of their staff are educators. And I think that helps them understand how schools and sports are, and they frequently say, the tail shouldn't wag the dog, that education is the most important thing, and then how do we blend in with that. So I really think they do an excellent job in a very, very sensitive and personal area for many parents. And I hope that we always work collaboratively, and speaking right now and worrying what might come, I don't want to do their job at all. I think I've heard from attorneys in states where there's more responsibility at the state board level for UHSAA or High School Activities Association, and I don't want to be that state. These individuals do a great job, and I want them to keep their jobs.
Just a question. I saw some reports regarding international travel or international students coming in. I saw there were some changes, but I don't know what they were before. Can you kind of clarify what happened? Sometimes you get half a side in the media and not the full picture.
I'll start this one.
Perfect.
There are different types of visas, student international visas. There's an F1 visa, there's a J1 visa, and there's even other visas. The J1 visas are your CSET placement students that come for 1 year regardless of what school they're placed at. A school can't request a certain student. The J1s are placed there. They're there for a maximum of 1 year. F1 students can come on an F1 visa and choose their school. They can go, I want to go to this school for whatever reason. And in public schools, they're only allowed to go 1 year. In private schools, they're allowed to go 4 years. And so in our association, it has been a little bit of an unequal playing field, both in regards to the 4 years in private and the 1 year in public, but also with the attempt of perhaps a recruiting being done by agencies or handlers that may place an F1 student at a certain school. So our board took an initiative in May, and our Board of Trustees did vote on it, and it was a 14-0 vote by our Board of Trustees to adopt the rule. We had one abstain. And then in order for a rule to go into our bylaws and our Constitution, it has to be ratified by 2/3 of our member schools. And so the rule was sent out to our member schools, and they voted 128 to 9 in order to have the rule. What you've seen in the news now is we've had an F1 visa student who has challenged that in court because they were a student that was here last year. And what our rule said is F1 students can participate, but only at the sub-varsity level, not at the varsity level, unless the school wants to decide to use those students at the varsity level, then they would have to withdraw from postseason. So they would have an option as a school. So one of these F1 student visas who was here last year at one of our member schools became a plaintiff, and now we're in the middle of whether or not this rule is constitutional or not. And so it's been very difficult for our membership and our Board of Trustees to go through this because we had an overwhelming vote of 128 to 9, but we all realize you can't really vote for something no matter how big it is if it's unconstitutional. So there is a hearing that's scheduled on November 27th. It's a preliminary injunction, preliminary hearing, and we will see then what decision the federal judge makes on the rule, and then our Board of Trustees will make decisions from there whether we keep the rule or whether we change the rule or where we go from there. Did that help answer it? It's been in the news for sure. And there's passion in high school sports. You all know that. You either have had kids or grandkids. And I often say, what's the worst part? Or I get asked, what's the worst part and the best part of high school sports and even activities? And it's the same word, the passion. It's just how it's channeled. And if you'll go hear somebody screaming at a referee, you know their passion is not challenged the right way, or screaming at a coach. On the other hand, if they're cheering for their team to a victory, that's the best passion that can happen for a school. So it's very passionate right now. Our board did a very good job of researching. Other states around us had had a very similar rule that had not been tested in courts. So this is going to be kind of a landmark decision for not only our state, but many states around us.
Well, thank you. I did not realize that there was litigation pending. So when I was asking,
I was really careful.
So I apologize for opening a can of worms. It really was just trying to understand the changes. So thank you for your clarity.
You're welcome. And let me just say too, on Carol, thank you for what you said. And with Terry here, I just want to say that Terry has really helped us, and our board has responded at the executive committee level in tying athletics, high school athletics, to the PE standards. And we're going to continue to do that with her help and with the committees that she's established, because we really feel like it is extracurricular, yes, but how can we tie the extracurricular piece to the standards, the PE standards, the curriculum? So we'll continue to make an effort to do that with Terry's help. So thank you, Terry.
Thank you. Any other questions, board members? I do. Oh, you do? Okay. Go ahead, Member Davis.
Yeah, thanks for all you do. I mean, talk about passion. Last year, Sky Ridge, Pleasant Grove, both in my area. It was
And mine.
and yours. That's right. It was so intense. I'm grateful for Member Straight as a liaison to your board because he was so patient and helpful to just help get all those details out and how does the decisions get made and who does what and who did what, and it was so helpful. My question is about the medical waiver requirements when the students have to take the medical exam to be able to play the sport. I've had concern expressed from pediatricians that there's people are using them like a fundraiser, like you'll have someone come and sign all the waivers, a local doctor come and sign your paper, and then the school gets $10 and the doctor gets $10 or whatever, however that works. The concern expressed was that it's only a physical mechanism and that the standard annual exam that happens with the doctor does a kind of like an emotional mechanism, not emotional, that's a bad word. It does a thorough health, with mental health and physical health. And it was reiterated when I went to visit the clinic at West High because the doctors were saying, well, the beautiful thing about West High is we do all of the athletic waiver appointments here, and because we do it here instead of those drive-by signs, we do a more thorough investigation so we can help. Not investigation, but you know what I mean,
Yeah.
appointment. Do you have any kind of rules about that or thoughts about that, or does it matter? What's your opinion
Well,
on all that?
I sit on there's a National Sports Medicine Advisory Committee, and then there's our local UHSAA Sports Medicine Advisory Committee that I actually sit on. And the thing about this is that the pre-participation physical is not the well-child check. So you have to remember that it is not to replace the well-child check. But some parents are using their well-child check to do the pre-participation physical. So it's two separate things that parents are choosing to because of insurance. That mechanism, they choose to do it at that time. There are other kids where the school organizes it where they come and do the physical, so they make sure that they get everybody. At one time, they pay $20. I don't know how they set it up with the doctors, but I think that's where there may be a little confusion, but parents, because of insurance, are only doing it one time usually, and they're using it as their well-child check, but they should be done separately. And so those parents, I'm not sure if that answers your question or...
May I just quick clarification? When you say they should be done separately, I want to make sure I get this right in my mind. So a parent can use the well-child check for the waiver sign for the athletics, and that's okay if those are done together, but if they're using just the waiver to play, that should not be considered in place of an annual well-child check at the doctor's office.
That's 100% correct.
And so you are saying you would still encourage them to do that, but some people don't have insurance, let's be real, and they shouldn't make that keep them from playing sports. So I'm just trying to make sense of it all in my head and understand the feedback that we're getting from the doctors too.
And if there's students, I know schools have worked with students that can't pay the $20 for that's why they do some fundraising, and the schools help take care of our low-income kids so that they're able to play. But you're exactly right. And on the paperwork it says this is not to replace the well-child check.
Interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
I had a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see your light. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is a commendation more than a question. Some of the things that you didn't mention that I want the board to be aware of are all of the wellness activities that you support. So first, thank you for being so inclusive of Terry. If I have a question, I know I can go right to her, and 99.9% of the time she knows the answer, but if not, she knows where to find it. So between Member Straight and Specialist Davis, we can usually nail it down. So thank you for that. But the commendation I want to point out are things like The board has had presentations from, oh gosh, I just went blank, Unified Sports. And you have been a great supporter of Unified Sports. And there's so many things that you do that are not always in your job description that you just step up on behalf of kids. I'm thinking of concussion protocols and some of the things I've seen you lead out in. I appreciate it. And then I'll just end with the ability and the opportunity I've had to travel all over the state has been tremendous. One of my favorite opportunities, though, is arriving in a small town at night and knowing that there's a ball game in town. And I'll never forget one of my first whistle stops on my tour was Kanab High School, and I truly felt like I was Friday Night Lights. It was a warm, early September evening, and the coach was out there with the kids. They didn't know that I was sneaking up on them, but I just stood back and watched. And this goes to Member Lear's comment earlier about just the culture of the community, and then watching from warm up to the community coming together on behalf of the kids. And as a rural kiddo who grew up with community support like that, you still play such a role in giving kids opportunities. And I think that's why I love knowing the mascots of, it's gotten out of control, so I can't keep up now, but I used to know all the mascots of all the schools because it's such a part of school culture. And I want to underscore the role that the association plays in that. So thank you for all you do, just all the extras that are not in your job description and the way you support our families and kids. Thanks.
Well, and thanks again to everyone. I know this is a busy time for us, but thanks for the invitation in having us here. We have our state volleyball today and tomorrow at UVU. That's where the rest of the staff is. But we do like to answer questions and be informative and be approachable. And again, we appreciate Superintendent Dixon, Terry, and Board Member Straight. And whoever's the next one for Board Member Straight, we will welcome you. So we'll look forward to whoever that is. So thank you so much for having us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
All right, now the official
Now
mic.
the, yes.
Thank you for giving me
Yes.
that latitude. All right, Mr. Bartlett, you ready? Thank you. Well, there are a few things I want to share today, and as always, I want to give an update on the strategic plan. One of our important goals, I'll share some data and then end with some celebrations. I often get asked about enrollment, and we put out enrollment numbers. You see those numbers every year. One of the things that's been highlighted in various news outlets is our enrollment is going down overall and starting with kindergarten. So I wanted to give you a comparative slide of being able to see in what we look like in fiscal year 2014, school year 14. That's down at the bottom. So you can see we had about a little over 50,000 students enrolled in kindergarten. And at 12th grade, we had about almost 41,000. So if you project now 11 years later, you can see where we're at in terms of kids are moving through the system. So we have a little over 53,000 in 12th grade, but our kindergarten numbers are down. People have reached out to ask me why, and the simple answers I give, although Aaron Bruff could give you really complex numbers. He's in the back if you want to have him drill down for you. But the simple answers are birth rates are down. We hear that from our economists who track all of this. We have had more students go into charters, but that's part of our public system, so that doesn't account for it. So it's mostly birth rate. We can track a few more into homeschool. I don't think we have a lot, but Aaron's back there. You can get more data from him. But I just thought it was noteworthy because it has been in the media a lot, and you might get asked as board members, we hear in public school enrollment is going down. What is that about? But if you look at those kindergarten numbers, that's where the whole cohort will move through the system. That's more about birth rate than anything else at this point. There could be other factors, but that's it aligns with what we're hearing out of the economists, the Kem Gardner Institute, and others who have reported on this data. It should be leveling out within a decade, but for a decade, we're going to continue to see declining birth rates according to the projections. Next. Always our strategic plan leading with vision and mission. And on the next slide, you'll see how we're tying our current goals as you're working on your strategic plan into the goals that you just approved in each of the committees. So here you'll see we're reporting today on effective educators and leaders. And I say we because I don't make this stuff up. People do the work and they track it and I get to report it out. But this fits very nicely with the law and licensing goal, which you might even want to call a value as we transition. And the highlighted part that says the board supports improving educational excellence by providing high quality licensing, educator and school leadership to increase the presence of highly qualified educators for every student in Utah. So you can see that nice fit with the current goal that we have into the value or goal that you just approved. So let's do some reporting on the goals then. The previous goal of 2A really discussed how we're supporting districts and schools with effective mentoring for beginning educators and leaders. And the research is really clear that effective mentoring can cut down on attrition, if not even eliminate it in some cases where it's not natural attrition, but new teachers may not feel prepared, they may not have the resources. A good mentor can really step in and make all the difference. And you have people like Member Davis who work on this as part of their daily work, but we haven't always had clearly defined standards for mentoring, nor have we had the kind of professional learning that our state office or the state board has provided. So there's stuff out there everywhere, but we haven't always been clear. And this is something that staff took on a few years ago. So we decided that having a mentor endorsement would be key to making sure that there was some kind of not only standardization, but high quality mentoring going on in the state. And we've had 147 applicants for the endorsements and that have been awarded to over, let me say that differently. I can tell I'm on a sugar low. Remember, Carrie, you've been eating all the sugar. So let me rephrase that we've awarded the endorsement to over 147 applicants, which is awesome. And we see that growing. We've had really positive responses about the training that we provided and the resources. The next strategy is similar. It's strategy 2B, and that is similar in that we're assisting districts and schools in providing more personalized learning for educators and leaders. And this is trying to move the needle on drive-by or one-shot wonders or things that we know don't work. We've had professional learning standards in place for a long time. Again, we've left LEAs to their own device sometimes to come up with what instructional coaching looks like. You can Google it. It's out there. There are resources. But having some standards as a state and providing the kind of support and training for instructional coaching has been amazing. So if you see that over 900 educators have gone through an instructional coaching endorsement, that's amazing to me. We've only been doing this for a couple of years. And we hear that if there's a large LEA who is doing their own thing, they are using our resources. So it's been such a value add for our system to zero in on both mentoring and instructional coaching through endorsements as a way to ensure that our new teachers and our new leaders are getting the kind of support that they need. And last but not least, reporting on 2D, that we are trying to change the perception of teaching as a profession. This is something I was going to give Vice Chair Earl her moment, and she stepped out. So I'll talk about her behind your back. I don't know where she is. Vice Chair Earl, this is something that you have heard her say, let's put some money behind it. We put some videos together. But by and large, what we've done here is to really look at data in all the efforts that we've put forth around perception. So we've been able to decrease the number of teachers who are leaving the profession. Now, that's not just us, but it's, again, us supporting mentoring and coaching and the things that we know make a difference. We can see those numbers start to decline of those leaving the profession. There's been a 4% decrease in teachers when we look at the exit interviews who have cited just emotional exhaustion and burnout. So again, putting work into school culture, supporting school leaders in how they support their educators, all of those things are helping. Our attrition rate is at about 10% per year, and that's some of the natural attrition of leaving for just, a move or growing your family or all sorts of things. But you can see where we're at every year. And for each educator that leaves, Malia could probably tell us the cost. It used to be around $8,000 in cost, just the way we support and prepare teachers. I'm sure it's higher than that when you factor in what it's cost them and their family to put them through school. But just the induction part of it all can be costly. And we still are seeing shortages with special education. I want to point out that Member Green is not here, but in Iron County, and there are a couple of other rural districts where we see some youth in custody programs, for example, where a number of their students are on IEPs and it requires special education services. And so think about, we're struggling in our public education system and they're struggling, and just overall there's such a call for our teachers. So the Apple program and some of the things that we're doing around special education, they're making a difference, but they're definitely not filling the holes that we have in that area. So that's our effective educators and leaders goal report with all the strategies. And now I want to give a couple of shout outs. Have any of you had an opportunity to attend Apple Crunch on the Hill? We'll make sure that we give you notice ahead of time. We try to send it out to you, but we'll give you good notice because it is so much fun to be at the Capitol with Apple Crunch. I think this is Canyon School District, if I'm remembering correctly. But we always make sure little kiddos are around, and we have local apple producers who come and bring a variety of apples, and there's science and nutrition and art and all sorts of different content areas involved around apples and understanding nutritious foods, and it's just a lot of fun. And of course, there's ceremonies and we all eat apples and all the things. So just wanted to point this out, that it's our team, our CMP team, who puts all of this together. Here we had Canyon School District, and the apple grower came from the Mountain Land Growers Cooperative. So next, I want to celebrate something that our team, sorry, I forgot this one. I want to celebrate something that maybe you want to dive in on this, Chair Moss. This is Wasatch County School District was recognized as a model professional learning community at work district by Solution Tree. It's one of only 32 districts in the U.S. and Canada, and it was the first district in Utah to receive this honor. You've heard Chair Moss speak often, as he should, in great pride, about the work that they're doing with professional learning communities and looking at data and really being able to target with the formative assessments that they use in how they're improving outcomes for kids. And it's not just by happen chance. They've looked at their entire system and how the whole instructional cycle and learning communities are a part of that system. So we're really happy and excited about Wasatch County School District getting this award. So when you hear Chair Moss talk about it, it's legit. It's not just bragging from the chair about his own district. They're doing some legit work. So shout out to them.
Can I say one?
This is why I poked you. I
You
knew
did,
that you'd
but
want to say
I'm not
something.
going to brag about Wasatch internally. I love being there. I was on their community council 10 years ago when they were trying to figure out how to do a good PLC. Progress is going great. I just wanted to mention that they also sort of take this approach statewide, and what they love to do is find somebody else who's killing it. So they don't just brag about themselves. It's like they've used ULEAD, they've used our office. They've said, where are the outliers? We want to go hunt them down and sit in their office until we learn what they're doing. So that's what I love. It's not just internal. They're finding great examples across the state, and that's fun to watch. It's kind of a expanded PLC model a little bit, where you take that data and compare and then adjust internally. So I think it's a testament to a lot of folks out there.
And they're great to share too. They're great about having people come in. They don't roll out the red carpet and make a big fuss. They just show what they do on a daily basis. So if you have a chance to go visit, they're doing great work, and always a great time. Last but not least, we had a U.S. Department review, and this was from the Office of Elementary and Secondary Education, and they do some heavy-duty monitoring. It's never fun. It's always super comprehensive, and you can be sure that they will find something. And so on a monitoring visit we had a few years ago, there were some data elements that occurred, well, the targeted data monitoring actually occurred June 27th, 2023. So here are the things that it covered. Title I, Part A, Title I, Part B, Title I, Part C, and this is all of the ESEA, by the way. So we had state assessment grants, education of migratory children. Title II, Part A is effective instruction state grants. Title III, Part A is a state formula grant for English language acquisition and language enhancement. Title IV, student support and academic enrichment. Title V, Part B, Subpart 2 is rural and low-income schools. And Title IX, Part A of the ESEA McKinney-Vento Act. So those are all the things that they came and monitored. And they found some issues with data. And I want Aaron Bruff to stand up for this. He didn't know I was going to embarrass him. I know he wouldn't have come into the room. Is Leah in here? Leah's not in here. So if there's anybody representing special, there she is. Stand side by side. All right. So we had teams from Aaron's shop and from Leah's shop, and I don't know where is Jared. Do we have anybody from IT back there? Okay, Scott, will you go stand next to Leah? Or pretend? I mean, it's your ops, buddy. Okay, all of you just come to the front so Scott doesn't have to walk so far. He's getting old. Okay, I want you to look at these three. Their teams have been working on the monitoring and clearing everything up. And you might think, okay, well, how long can that take? It took a long time and a lot of really hard work. And when I got the letter saying, Superintendent Dixon, you have met all of the monitoring requirements and you have checked every box and cleaned everything up, it was as if we were delivered like 4 bricks of gold from the federal government. So I don't know if you could hear the cheers, but that's what a big deal this was. So Aaron. Well done. Thank you. That concludes my report.
And we have bricks of gold for each of you.
All right. Thank you, Superintendent.